How important are stories? How important is the story that you tell to the world? And how important is the story that you tell yourself? Well, my guest today on The Mental Space has a very special story to tell. In fact, Lubna Forzley, CEO and founder of Stories, welcome to The Mental Space.
Thank you. Very grateful to be here.
We'll dive into your story a little bit deeper and we'll overuse the word stories, I'm sure, throughout this conversation. However, the latest chapter of your story is an exciting one because you recently just won at the Mental Awards 2023, our first inaugural awards. Congratulations. A brilliant night, black tie gala dinner, and you held aloft the trophy for most innovative technology company. Why don't you tell us all about why you entered and the project you entered?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, congrats on the awards and on what you put together. It's wonderful. I love what you've done. It's incredible.
Okay.
And thank you to the judges and to the community and to everyone for giving us the honor to have this award. So you asked me why I got into that.
Yeah.
I got into that because we found an underserved segment, which is founder mental health and founder mental resilience.
Yeah.
And I really would love to support the dreamers out there, the founders who are purpose-driven, who are dreamers, and who work so hard to pull their businesses up. And I don't find that they have enough support.
Yeah.
Today in the corporate sector, you have some corporates taking care of their employees and providing them with coaching, with therapy, with training, but nobody's doing that for founders.
Yeah.
And we found that that's an underserved segment. And we noticed also that in North America, there's a lot of VC funds that are waking up to the fact today that 9 out of 10 startups fail. And they're investing all of this money into all of these startups, and then they end up failing.
Yeah.
And they want to reduce the level of failure. So what they do today globally, or at least some do globally, is they include coaching as part of the funding for the first year of the founder's life, because they know that that's where the highest chance of failure is.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to do something similar here in the region. And I believe in spreading awareness on mental health like you. And so I got into that because we saw an underserved segment and we want to raise awareness as much as we can among the business community.
Well, speaking as a founder who works in mental health, you're absolutely right. And we've talked about this on the Mental Space podcast before as well. And specifically to that, it's fascinating that 9 out of 10 go out of business. And yet we glorify hustle culture. We work ourselves to the bone and we don't look after ourselves. And then we wonder why we sometimes fall at the hurdles. Tell us a little bit more about Stories, what you've created, what you entered into the awards.
So we created a concept that's called the 3 C's. So we focus on coaching, community, and content. Mm-hmm. And we believe in the combo of all 3. And we provide the founder with access to all 3. I think that founders need access to a community. So we have an online community and we provide founders with free events on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And they come and they show up as real human beings without the mask, without the glorification. And I think that that's wonderful. So they can come in and share whatever is going on with their life. So that's the community aspect. On the content side, we plan to share a lot of, not exactly what you're doing, but focusing more on blogs and just any form of awareness that we can with.
I'm fine with competition.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, the more we push each other, the louder better we get. So that's, it's fine.
Yeah. So one of the things that we would like to do with the portal going forward on the content side is after a human being finishes their coaching session, we would love to be sending them an automated article. A lot of global coaching companies do that, and they do that through AI, and we would love to do that in the near future. We're not there yet, but that's what we would love to do. So for example, if you come to me and you want to talk about emotional regulation, the minute you finish the session and I enter that, you will get an article around emotional regulation and through AI. So that's what we would love to do on the content side, and would love to collaborate. And on the coaching side, we offer 2 types of coaching. We offer one-on-one coaching and group coaching. And on the one-on-one coaching, I think something that makes us super unique is we offer purpose coaching, which nobody else in this region is offering. It's a process of 5 hours where you come in, you do one-on-one coaching, and you walk out with a clear why, how, and what for your business. And you can build your marketing plan around that. You can build your investor pitches around that. So that's one area of coaching. And then the other area of coaching is all around mental resilience. Any aspect of mental resilience that comes to your mind. We found that founders at different aspects of their journey need different types of support. And we have access to a large database of coaches that can support them across their journey depending on what they need. So I have people who have co-founder issues and they need more like a co-founder counselor, like a marriage counselor. And there are others who need emotional regulation or financial coaching. So every founder is different.
What are some of the common challenges then, or certainly the common mental health challenges you're finding among founders? And does that differ if the founder is a man or a female?
So the most
You're going to tell me women are much better at this. I know you are. I know you are, particularly emotional regulation.
So I think that we have a lot around emotional regulation. We have a lot around conflict. So one of the top 10 reasons why startups fail is around conflict. So it's team conflict or team dynamic issues or co-founder relationship conflict. And that spills over into a person's mental health, obviously. Resilience is a big one for founders. A lot of them, you wake up as a founder, and I'm sure you've experienced this and I've experienced this. You wake up every day and you're like, oh my God, this is too hard. I want to quit. And then something great happens, and you're like,
I'm laughing because it's true. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
And you make it to another day and another day and another day. So resilience is a big piece in the puzzle.
Yeah.
So there are many, many different elements, but resilience plays a big role in this.
You talked about masks, and we all wear them at times. Do you find with founders that's particularly difficult? Because when you're inside a company, you can almost hide a little bit. Sometimes you can hide from yourself, but when you're a founder, you're out there and there's not really any hiding place. So what are the challenges? I mean, how do you help the founders take off that mask and kind of like stare into the abyss that is their own emotional well-being, particularly when, as you say, every day, the emotional roller coaster, the highs and the lows, like the highs are amazing, but the lows can be a lot, particularly when if you've got kids, you've got family, you've got rent, you've got pressures, you've got all those sorts of things going on, and you're still trying to grow a business.
So we noticed that with men. You asked me before if it's more men with women. We noticed the masks more with men rather than women. And I think because they feel like they have to hold it together. They have to hold it together for their family. They have to hold it together in front of their investor. They don't want to show vulnerability and weakness in front of the investor, because if they do, then, they feel that, they can't get the same level of support with the investor. So we noticed that with men more than women. But I feel like the way we sort of convince the male founder to come on a journey with us is through one-on-one communication. And I find that when you're with the founder one-on-one and it's very personal and private and human, that it's easier. You're able to crack through. And I also find that it's a process that takes time, right? So we don't expect success from the first conversation, and you need to show them what's in it for them. So our slogan is, your business grows only when you grow. And this is very much true. Like, not only in business, but in life and in everything in general. You cannot grow anything unless you grow. You invest in yourself and in your own story first and foremost. And I think that it's a process that takes time. This is new in the region. We are facing challenges. So I don't want to make it sound like it's all, peachy. I don't put a mask on. I'm a very real person. So it's a process. And
again, to talk about those masks, it was interesting because you're talking about that relationship between investor and the founder. And sometimes, if we look at LinkedIn, look at any social media, often we'll see founders with that mask of the world going, hey, everything's amazing. I'm living my dream. I'm following my passion, which we are. But often it feels like there's a lot of good friend of mine, Derek. He talks about toxic positivity. And we never really kind of get to how difficult it can actually be in that space and how to keep going. How have you found that level of toxic positivity? How are you trying to tackle that?
So, I put out a post on LinkedIn once about depression.
Yeah.
And I had the CEO reach out to me privately saying, I just want to say thank you so much for putting out this post. I don't want to like it because I don't want my team to see me liking it.
Yeah.
So this is the level of awareness we're working with.
Yeah.
And I get that and I understand that. And just to tell you another story on the flip side of this, I sat with an investor yesterday and we were talking about this. He's like, I totally believe in what you're doing. But you know what? I'm after the returns and I'm after the success of the founder. And I'm okay if the founder is miserable as long as they're getting me the success. And so we're working with polarizing.
Yeah, which sort of sounds counterintuitive, really, doesn't it? That I don't mind if he burns out, but as long as he gets me the money, well, he's actually going to, that individual is probably going to make you more money. It's the same with our message to the corporate world as well. It's like, it's good business to be a good business. If you look after your people, now if your people is only just yourself, you're still going to be more productive. You're still going to make more money. So it feels like that, we've got a lot of stigma out there, but also a lot of misunderstanding about how to motivate people. We see it from the corporate world. We see it from the C-suite. We are in a part of the world where we are a lot more hierarchical in terms of leaderships inside companies. We haven't quite got those flat structure conversations going just yet. In too many companies, fear is still the motivating factor. That really seems to me to be counterintuitive if you've got fear in a relationship between a founder and an investor.
But it's there, and that's the honest answer, and that's what I see. There are some relationships which are very genuine and very open, but I don't think we're there yet. And I think it's a process, and I think getting the VC and the government and the accelerators on this journey is very, very important for me. So that's my first priority, that I get them on this journey with me. Like I mentioned before, in a corporate world, you've got somebody taking care of the employee in most of the cases, not all the cases, but you do have access to coaching. I was coached. I was in the corporate sector. I had a coach for 2 years, fully funded by the company. And I was grateful for that because that changed my life and that got me on this track, right? But the founder doesn't have access to that. And I think we need to get more VCs, more accelerators, more governments on that journey with us.
And it does feel like, if you look at the US and if you look at Europe, maybe not so much the UK, but the VCs and the investors have begun to wake up to that, 9 out of 10. Or is there a coincidence that these people are working themselves into burnout and then they're failing? Actually, they're waking up to the fact that protecting the founder is the best way of protecting their investment.
Absolutely.
What is the barrier here to the change? Is it just stigma? What do we need to happen in this part of the world to kind of get the VCs here to wake up to the opportunity that this represents?
Yeah, I think there are many. I think stigma is big here. I think tolerance for vulnerability is big here. So there's still a lot of shame around vulnerability instead of seeing vulnerability as a strength.
Yeah.
I think getting the relationship right between the VC and the founder is still not there. Like it's still based on the founder needing the VC and needing the investor more than the other way around. It's not an equal relationship. These are some of the issues that we're dealing with. I think also they need a mindset change. This is a process that takes time, and I understand that it's a process that takes time. So I'm not expecting any quick fixes anytime soon. I think we need to start with a case study and 2 and 3 and 4 and 10 in order to make it the norm. And I know that that's a process that's going to take time. And we need to start with maybe the founders that are failing, or at least that's my entry level. So who is on the verge of failure or who is not doing very well, and how can we turn that around? And then show the VC how we can turn it around. And then when they see that, then they say, oh, I get it. I don't want the others to fail. And then they also realize that it's not just about failing or succeeding. You've got people who are succeeding. They're not failing, but they're not producing at the level that they can produce. Everybody needs leadership coaching. Today, you take your child to a swimming instructor because they need to learn a new skill. It's the same as a business owner, right? You always need to learn new skills and you need support.
Tell me about it. It's very good for neuroplasticity, I will say that much. The amount of new skills and new situations we have to face on any given day is bewildering at times, and can be very overwhelming at times.
Absolutely.
So, in my experience, in the conversations we've been having with the mental space, often the people that are trying to help have had some experience themselves. You know, there's a reason why they're kind of called to this mission.
Absolutely.
To try and help tackle the stigma of mental health. You know, with me, it is a journey and a discovery of my own mental health. It's losing my father to mental health. It's looking at my children and seeing the world they're growing up with. And let's talk about the world right now and the world that they're growing up in. You know, it's very, very polarized. It's very, very concerning. And they need better tools than me and my father, who died from mental health growing up. What's your story? Like, what called you to this mission?
Yeah. So maybe I'll step back a little bit and tell you just in 1 second about the company, and then I'll go into the story. So we have two arms in the company. One side of the company focuses on helping the founder and the corporate with their purpose, their why, how, and what, and how they showcase that to the world, as you mentioned, your story to the world. And then the other is your inner story. And so I have two personal stories around each of these. So I'll start with your story to the world. So I grew up in a war zone. And as a child, I would look outside the window every day and see people on the floor dying in front of me. I'd see glass falling. I'd see people dying. Because that was the nature of my childhood. And I'd look out every day and say, will I make it today? Will I make it tomorrow? And if I do make it today or tomorrow, what is the purpose of this? What's the purpose of this life? And how could I make my life impactful? And so I became super obsessed with studying purpose and meaning and fulfillment. And how do we find that? And what is the process? And I went on a journey, and I read every book. I went to every training just to learn how to identify purpose. And I've tried with different methodologies. So that was, my personal story. I believe that on our deathbed, we come naked, we leave naked. The only thing that remains when we're gone is our story. And so I really would love for every human being to live with purpose and to live with a story. And I would love every company to do that as well. So that's the, how you project your story to the world part of my business. And then the inner story part of my business, as I grew up and became an adult, I don't want to say I forgot about my childhood, but you tend to put your childhood on the back burner for some time, and you tend to become super achievement oriented as a way to mask.
I was about to use the mask. Yeah, it is a mask. Yeah,
it's a mask. Yeah. It's exactly a mask. Everybody who's achievement oriented is wearing a mask, right? And so I became one of these, and I went into the corporate sector, grew the corporate ladder, did super well. But then I felt like I wasn't leading the way I wanted to lead. I was a horrible leader. I really wanted to change my style. And so I went to my boss, who was very, very amazing at the time. I was on the talent development program of the company that I was in. And I said to my boss, I really would love to have a coach. And he looked at me like crazy. He's like, you don't need a coach. You're doing really well. And I'm like, no, but I need a coach. I feel like I need a coach. And I'm on the talent program, and I would like you to invest in a coach. And so he did. And that coach ended up staying with me and my team for 2 full years. She shadowed me. She got to know my team. She did psychometrics on us. She told us how to work together as a team. And that was an incredible journey in my life. I then wanted to pay it forward, and I became a coach for women. I partnered at the time with Women at Work, Moms at Work, and I started doing that as a volunteer and coaching women. And I had that as a natural talent. I started speaking and then coaching, and then I became certified. I became obsessed with Gabor Mate. And when I'm obsessed with something, I find a way to make it happen. And so I was super obsessed with Gabor Mate and his journey. And I kept saying, I want to be Gabor Mate one day. And so I found a way to be part of Gabor Mate's program. And that was truly life-changing for me. And to be in that program, you have to be a certified coach. So I went on a full journey, really, both on the coaching side and on the therapy side. So I have good knowledge of both. And I really, really felt as I went through all of that, if I had access to that, I want every founder to have access to that, because it changed my life. Yeah. It's truly given me such a new way to look at life. And I would love for everybody to have that.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Were you a horrible boss?
Sorry?
Were you a horrible leader?
Was I a horrible leader?
Yeah. You felt like you were. What was
I felt
it that
like
said,
I was.
how did that manifest, or why did you feel that way?
I was rude. It was all about me. It was all about my results. It was all about me looking good just because I wanted to look good. And that's so wrong. And that's so wrong.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because it's like, you've probably just described 99 or maybe 95% of people in management positions right
Absolutely.
now. I mean, I know I've been on my own journey, and I look back at, I came across some emails I sent when I first got promoted into a leadership position. You look at the tone of them and you're like, oh my goodness me, no. You know, you have to learn, but so many people get promoted because they're good at a process, not because they're any good at leading people. I must have been a terrible leader of people. You know, it's taken me decades to get anywhere close to understanding what leadership, rather than being a boss, looks like. So maybe cut yourself some slack on that. But then how have you changed, or let's come back to, you say, you know, Gabor Mate has changed your life and your perspective. How so?
So my journey with Gabor was more, I would say, personal. I think when you go through the journey with Gabor's program, you become super non-judgmental, very curious, very open to everything. You befriend pain. You don't avoid pain.
Okay.
You remove all your masks because you don't need them anymore. And I think the biggest change that I've had with Gabor, I would say on a personal level, when I was growing up, because of my childhood, as a child, I didn't have any power to change anything. I couldn't stop the bombs from falling.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything, right? And so when I became an adult, it was all erased to, I want to change the world. I want to have a voice. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. And it was just like erased the whole time, just in the name of, I want to change the world, which is what every founder says, right? That's the game of every founder.
Yeah.
I want to change the world. And then I went to Gabor's program, and then he keeps asking you why. And it's like peeling the onion until you get to the core. And then if you look at the answers of the majority of the people, it's all based on our core beliefs. And they're usually because I'm not valued, I'm not enough, I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm not...
You were about to trigger me, but that's fine. Yeah. But no, it's true.
Well, let's look at your trigger. Let's do a mini coaching session.
True. And in your case, how did you then... Change, yeah. How did you...
I realized through his program that I don't need any of that. That if you want to change the world, go do it with joy. Don't do it because you want to feel important or heard or powerful. I no longer do it for these reasons. I used to do it for these reasons. I no longer do it for these reasons. I do it because I believe in it. I do it because I'm happy doing it. And I do it with a lot of curiosity, with non-judgment. I have heard through my coaching and therapy journey thousands and thousands of stories. I've heard every problem under the sun. And I could honestly and genuinely tell you, I approach everything with a lot of curiosity. There are no taboos. We are all on a journey. And I get curious about every person's journey and about my own journey as well. So
where does that journey go next now? I mean, obviously you've reached the pinnacle of your career by winning the Mentl Awards 2023. And congratulations again on that.
Thank you.
But tell me about the vision. Tell me about, you know, your journey moving forward. What's your story? What's your next chapter?
So I think we're only at the beginning of the journey, right? I think we have a long way to create more awareness. And I'd love to do that in partnership with you. Absolutely. On founders, on corporates, on how they can, you know, destigmatize mental health. I would love to focus on AI in my portal and in my app. I'd love to automate purpose. I'd love to automate a lot in our coaching journey because we're not there yet. I mean, today we're still at very early stages. And as I mentioned earlier, when I went to GITEX, they were saying, if you're not fully embarrassed from your whatever you put out first, then you're doing it wrong. So I think we have a long way to progress. And I hope to get to a place where, every single human being has a coach in their pocket or a therapist in their pocket, either way. And where we get to a place where this is the norm, like speaking about mental health is a beautiful part of being a human. Because if you don't speak about mental health, then you don't have mental health, and every person has a brain.
Yeah.
And it's part of the journey, and it's a beautiful part of the journey, not just part of the journey.
Just to play devil's advocate with you for a second, obviously there's been quite a lot of fear expressed around AI. And sometimes in any sphere, we worry about the human being versus the program. What's your take on that? You obviously look at artificial intelligence, AI, as an opportunity to help. But what's your response when faced with there are people that are afraid of AI and that are not sure that AI is actually suitable for this?
Yeah, I don't think it's either or. I think that it's not either or. It's a combo of AI and the human touch. I don't believe in fully automated coaching because you need the human element in coaching. And I don't believe in, pure coaching without automation. I think the combo of two is good because it accelerates things. It allows you to scale. I'm after scale. I want to reach as many people as I can. And I think the combo of the two work well together.
If you could go back now, then it's the question that we often gets asked, and speak to that child that was in that conflict zone, what would you be saying to them?
That's a
what
beautiful question.
What would you be saying to yourself back then?
So I remember that was a pivoting point in my life when I was a child. There was a book, I think it was The Catcher in the Rye, I'm not sure. And I think I remember reading, I kept saying, I want to save the world, I want to change the world. And I read in one of the pages, before you go do that and help everybody else, make sure you help yourself first. And I always think of purpose as a yin and yang.
Yeah.
Purpose and community go hand in hand. Your purpose is beyond you. And so it's very important that you have an aspect of community and do things beyond you, because when you're gone, your story will remain. And so I love helping others and doing great things to change the world, but I'm not going to do that also at my expense. It's important to put my own mask first for my sake so that I can help other people and for the sake of my family, for my children. And so I think the best thing that I would say for myself is just to always remember what I read and to make sure that I'm properly balancing between putting my own mask on and helping others.
I'm going to get a bit of a hack from you, or a cheat. Give the founders who are tuning into this conversation then, Pops, 3 things that you feel that they should be focusing on, or 3 things that they should be throwing away and stepping back from, 3 myths or 3 misconceptions.
So the first thing that I would love for every founder to focus on is to make sure that they're fully aligned, that their what and how and why are fully aligned, to be clear about why they're doing it, and to go on an exploration. Like I went on an exploration in my life to know why I'm doing this. If you're really doing this for the money or just to feel valued or feel important, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? You don't need that. By definition, you're breathing. You're God's child, you are important and valued and seen. And so don't do that for that reason. Make sure that everything that you do is aligned. Too many founders burn out because their what they're doing on a day-to-day basis does not align with their why. And they end up doing so many things, but they're not all aligned with their why. And so just drop things. If some of the whats are not aligned with your why, have the courage to drop them. So I would say these would be my top 2 advices, and then just always take care of yourself so that you can help other people. I think that's big for me, and I'm on that journey. I haven't gotten the perfect magic wand.
I don't think there is a destination, is there? We don't arrive. We So your last piece of advice on hustle culture, because we kind of started there. It is glorified. We've got a lot of founders. We've got young founders. We've got founders who are over 50 and look like, well, I am over 50. So how do you help founders cope with hustle culture? Because if we look at social media, it's very, very easy to get trapped in, I need to be doing that. Oh, I need to be doing that. Oh, I need to be doing that all the time. How do you get people to kind of let go of that?
I would say hustle with purpose. I always take everything on a purpose journey and always bring them back to why they're doing this and to their own purpose and to why exist. And I always remind them, at the end of the day, why are you doing this and what are you leaving behind you? It's not about you, it's about what you're leaving beyond you. And so I think hustle is necessary in entrepreneurship. I'd lie, I hustle a lot. And I'd lie if I tell you that I'm not hustling. You hustle, I'm hustling, we're all hustling. But I think hustle with elegance, if that's possible.
No, I don't get anyone to accuse me of hustling with elegance.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, you've been very generous with your time, and I know you've got so much to do and you're going to go on and hustle somewhere else. Thank you for joining us on The Mental Space today. Congratulations. Thank you for being part of our journey. Thank you for entering the Mental Awards 2023. We look forward to you entering again next year, but congratulations on behalf of everyone at Mental and all the judges, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, and I'm so proud of everything you've done. I hope you know that.
Thank you. Scott's imposter syndrome just kicked in there. If you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, of course, remember that you can subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe there. And we are, of course, on all the podcast platforms. So find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and click subscribe and carry on following these conversations. Thank you again, Lubna.
Thank you.